Hello, it's Duncan. The Gilded Rose development team has a bit of a cold today, so be glad that we are at least pairing remotely these days. Our customer has come up with a new requirement, that is that the quality should not fall below 0. This feels like something quick and easy to implement, so even in our distressed state, let's have a crack at this. We have, of course, an item class here. And at the moment it has quality, which is a uint, and we might think that we could, in fact, never pass a negative number in as a uint. That was part of our design decisions. I think maybe we'll start this by just putting in a little init method to check that we do never create an item with a negative amount, at least in our test so far. So let's have a look at that. So here we could require that quality is greater than or equal to 0. And we could give that a message which says something like quality is quality, but should not be negative. And that has to be uint. So let's run this test and just check that nowhere in our code currently degrades quality past 0. And all our tests passed, so that's good. So now what we want to do is deliberately try and degrade an item, take an item that's quality is 0 and reduce its quality by 1, which is say tick it on by 1 day. We don't currently have any tests of our update except for some approvals tests, so maybe we will write some tests. We'll put them in here and we'll say new file and we'll call them updating tests. Add those. And our current code that does the updating is this function here, which, as I say, is largely untested. So let's make that public and move it out into its own place so we can test it out of the main package, out of the root package. So we'll move that to our Gilded Rose package and we'll call that updating. And that will give us something to call in our updating tests. So let's look in updating. Move that over there so we see both at the same time. And because we don't have any tests, we'll add first of all some tests for the functionality we've got. And that functionality is items decrease in quality. IntelliJ, you really embarrass yourself sometimes. You shouldn't complete inside a quoted item, should you? Decrease in quality 1 per day. Okay, so in order to test this, we're going to call this update items, give it a list of items. So let's start with some items. We need one thing to show what's going on. So we will have an item, make a banana, we've got our October the 29th date, and we'll start with 42 quality for now. So if we take those items and we call update items on our items for 1 day. There's this parameter here, days is 1. Maybe we could even spell it out to remind ourselves. Then what we're going to expect from here, return is a list of our banana item. The sell by date would have changed, but we'll expect the quality to be degraded by 1. Comma in there. So let's just run the tests. So that shows the behavior of the existing code. We could sanity check to show that if we ask it to update by 0 days, then we get the initial quality. The initial list of items. And if we ask it to update by 2 days, then the quality should go down to 40. So that's tested the functionality we already had there, which was only up to now tested by our approvals tests. Now though, we want to test some functionality we don't have, which is that items, the quality doesn't decrease past 0. So quality doesn't become negative. So what would that mean? Well, take one case for now, and we'll say if we started with inline that, one item that had a quality of 0, and we updated it by 1 day, we would expect it still to be 0. Okay, we have no code for that. So we'll run a test to make us write the code. And here's a little bit of a surprise to me, because I expected to either hit this assertion in here, or if we'd messed up the assertion, to end up with an item with a quality of -1. But what we actually end up with is a quality of 42 billion. So what's going on here? Well, what is going on here is that uints are really just bit patterns in Kotlin. They are not integers. Well, they are integers that can never be 0, but that doesn't mean it will fail to subtract a number if it would make it negative. It means it will just go positive very quickly. And that's what we've seen here. So taking 1 away from 0 as a uint gives us this 42 billion. That's really not very helpful to us, and it calls into question, I think, the entire idea of using uint here, especially as we've had to suffer using use and 2 uints and so on all through our code. So I think maybe at this point, having discovered that uints aren't what we expect, we're just going to get rid of them. And we can do this just by changing this to int. That will require that change, and our code now won't compile in lots and lots of places, but we can go and fix that up quite easily. Now, we might want to back our test out, but I think this is a small failure. So let's go and fix up on this failing test. Here we just have to remove the 2 uint in order to make that compile. Here we just have to pass to an int rather than a uint. Compile again. And now all of our problems are that we are now passing these unsigned ints into our item constructors. When we look at all these, they are all in the same form. They're 42 or something u bracket. And that gives us a clue how we might fix this. What we could actually do is just find and replace all these in our code base. So if we find and replace all the u's of the bracket, that will make all of our unsigned into signed ints, and that should compile. One more we've missed here, that we don't have to coerce. And now our test failed in the way that we thought it might do, which is to say we hit our require inside our init block because we passed a negative quality in here. That should be quite easy to fix. If we lay this out a little bit better, then here we've got our quality minus the days. What we want to say is that that thing as a coerce at least, which is effectively math.min. And that should fix things for us. Okay, excellent. Let's just have a look at our test. So quality doesn't become negative, and we should probably test getting there another way, which is to say, starting with, say, a quality of 1 and updating by 2 days. And that should also end up with 0 here. Splendid. It seems to me now that we have an operation on item that's hidden really in update items. We can use the copy method to update the quality, but maybe it would be better to make this a proper operation on item. And we can do that by taking this code, making a function out of it, which is updated by. And if we make that an extension function on item, now we can take that code, cut it out of here, and just move it into item as a method. I think there used to be a refactoring for this, but it seems to have disappeared. Take the receiver away. Right, that passes on a test, which is great. Now it's worth noting that we did have 2 update methods. We have this one here, update items, and we also have another update item in our stock tests, which is the old code, which doesn't have this coerce. I'm not sure that's a problem. It may be good for us that our stock tests don't have to change as we change the details of how we actually do updating items, but we should keep an eye on that to see whether it becomes a problem. In the meantime, though, I think we probably have a nice little check in there. We changed quite a bit, but changes are largely changes the constructor of item to take an int rather than uint, so that lots of these changes are at this form where we've just changed 42u to 42 and so on. So this is implement quality can not fall below 0. Well, that was a short and sweet little update. We're going to have a chat to our customer tomorrow to see what's next on the list. And if you'd like to see that episode, then you should subscribe to this channel with some button there somewhere. If you have enjoyed this, I suspect you'll enjoy the book that I wrote in that price called Java to Kotlin, a Refactoring Guidebook. And details of that are in the notes below as well. Thank you very much for watching.